I'm going to make a few remarks about my experience growing up with an Auntie Joy. It was a lot different. She was very, very close to me, a lot different than a lot of kids. So I'm going to read. I tried to write some on the plane, but I fell asleep and finished up the other day. So yeah, I'll do a little bit of reading, so excuse me. My great aunt, Betty Joy Zenny, or Auntie Joy as we call her, was a lady. She was refined, had gentle manners, and appreciated the finer things in life. She bestowed her appreciation of art, fine dining, and culture upon all of those that were close to her. In my case, she was the closest grandparent or elder I had. She was not my grandmother. She wasn't obviously not my grandfather, but she was my great aunt. I was closer to her than anybody else. I was fortunate to have grown up with her in my life. I remember the days of 17-course meals in Chicago and the lessons of patience I was taught by learning not to eat all the hors d'oeuvres before the main meal. I painstakingly learned how to differentiate between the soup spoon, the dessert spoon, and the main course spoon, and when to use them. I learned that when setting the table in a more informal dinner, that the arrangements of the spoon, knives, and forks should spell out owl. So you have the spoon, the fork, and the knife spells the word owl. These are just a few things, and these are all true. These are all true. I do remember this very clearly. These are a few things that I can clearly and honestly say that were taught to me by my Auntie Joy. When I got back from China yesterday, this was actually last night at about 11:30, I made a comment to my dad about how I don't need to buy dress clothes for the next 10 years. Each time I go back to China, I bring a few slacks and jackets that are in my closet and here in the U.S., and I wear them until they're worn out. This is because Auntie Joy wanted us to look presentable at all times, and she would do what it takes to make her grandsons or great-nephews make sure we were well-dressed. I have an interesting story. I remember when I was about 12 years old, I was in Chicago, and Auntie Joy said, "Oh, let's go shopping." I was incredibly excited, and while at the White Water Tower Mall on Michigan Avenue, I took her straight to Abercrombie & Fitch. Remember, I'm 12 years old. At 12, I thought I was in heaven, and that I had scored big. What I didn't take into account was that the paint-stained t-shirts and the jeans with holes in them did not pass Auntie Joy's smell test. I quickly learned that I had a much better chance of restocking my wardrobe by taking her to Brooks Brothers or a suit tailor. Wilson, my younger brother, who was also very close to Auntie Joy, learned very early, so he had a very extensive wardrobe. These are some of the finer things she taught me. Her appreciation for art and her desire to cultivate art in Mount Vernon community is deeply felt. She's supported local artists, attended fundraisers and parties at the museum, and then when we were children, she often took us here. I haven't been here in maybe 10 years, but I remember running around looking at all the sculptures. And they've got a little darker and grayer since then, but there's new ones that have come up, so it's pretty cool coming back. It's been a while. Sorry. Her home was always filled with art. And there was never a dull room in her house. Never. Every single room was full. If you knew Auntie Joy, you knew this was true. Her sister, my father's mother, and Aunt Joy traveled the world collecting art and were curators of their own museums. In 2003, Aunt Joy moved to Nashville to be closer to us in her older age. If anyone knows Aunt Joy, she liked to collect things. Whether it's clothes, cocktail napkins, art, or sheets, she had enough to go around. When she did move to Nashville, I was put in charge of helping her move in. I was the mover, the unpacker, and the decorator. As a 16-year-old, I didn't know what I was doing, but that was okay. Aunt Joy walked around telling me what to do, where to put things. Oh, move that to the left, this and that. We successfully mounted 756 pictures. No, I'm kidding. We arranged all of her statues, her busts, her collector's items all around the apartment. When we were finished, the walls were packed with Renoirs, the shelves were overflowing with jade, and the floor crammed from wall to wall with antiques. But she loved it. This was her museum, and she was a curator. I also learned how to sit still here in Mount Vernon. Aunt Joy commissioned portraits of me and my little brother Wilson by Chicago artist Dorian Allworthy to be painted, and who my dad said unfortunately couldn't make it today. So we had portraits made. In our day and age, in my generation, it's very, very rare for a teenager to have a portrait made. So I learned a lot of lessons, and now I have an awesome memory. The portrait is actually in the Wild Rose Farm here in Mount Vernon, so I'll always remember that. it will always remind me of her. When I see that portrait, I think of those. Evan, go sit. Evan, you're going to appreciate it. Evan, get a portrait made. So I think it's very fitting for us to be here today to name a ceramic studio in her honor, something that represents art in this world. I think she's in heaven right now, looking down at us. She's very happy, very proud. So I'm happy I could be here today to celebrate this with everybody. Thank you.